Okay, okay, people. We've had a sudden influx of possibly undesirable elements. I don't know if they're Bohemians or whether they're just art students. It's hard to tell, isn't it? Especially with this low lighting. But first of all, I think we're going to have a very good friend of mine, an eminent cryptozoologist.
No, not him.
Who I love as a brother because his name also begins with O. And he's wearing a cute hat. Here we go. This is Orrin, ladies and gentlemen.
Boo.
Hello.
I'm not really a public speaker. Customers, I don't know really. I'm going to tell you about something that happened to me the other night. I'm not going to recite my short stories and stuff. I think. Yeah, okay. Have a conversation. I have sleep paralysis an awful lot. And I had really, really, really bad sleep paralysis the other night. And when I was having sleep paralysis, which is, you're completely paralysed when you're trying to sleep, I realised that I was fighting for survival. I completely, you fall asleep every single night and you don't really realise that you are basically carried away by something. Like your consciousness gets distracted and you get moved away. Before you know it, you're unconscious and you don't really remember it. No one remembers falling asleep. So this was sleep paralysis. You are aware that there is a gap, a line between consciousness and sleep, and that line is death. You're completely aware of it. It is death. The second you fall, falling asleep is death, and you fight like a tiger to stop it. And I got my boyfriend next to me in bed, and I told him, basically, I trained him. If I start going, because normally with sleep paralysis you don't make a single noise, but this was like, okay, if I start going, and the limit you can do, if you try your hardest, is like, you can't even make a noise, like nothing. And the slightest sound, if I start going, he shakes me, right? And then I realised that it's not just shaking you to make you awake. I thought just a touch would wake me up. He's shaking me like this. I wouldn't wake up. It's really scary. Well, I kind of realised that it's like, I had a thought, and I linked it to something that I thought before, which was an idea about, I'm not a Star Trek fan, I don't like sci-fi. But I had the idea of the Star Trek teleporter, which is like a copier. It's like a photocopy machine. So you have you here, and the machine goes bleh, disintegrates you, and all your atoms are beamed down to the ground, and they're like reconstituted. So you have you on the ground in the same atoms or something, and they're rebuilt into you, and then you spring alive. And I thought, well, that's such rubbish, isn't it? Because you don't. Why is it transmitting your atoms so that it can build you from the atoms on the ground? But the problem is, it builds you from the atoms on the ground. It's not disintegrating you up here. And the point of view of you, the reason it's disintegrating you up here is if it doesn't disintegrate you up here, there's two of you. It goes, copies you, and goes bing, and there's two of you. And the second there's two of you, you realise that the thing on the ground is not you. Because your consciousness is here. And then there's this thing on the ground. And if you're, essentially all the teleporter's doing is basically a machine that goes and copies you. And I thought, that's interesting, because basically what we're talking about is continuity of consciousness. But consciousness is interrupted all the time. So as you're walking down the street and you lose consciousness when you're just walking along and you forget where you are and you kind of wake up in, I don't know, Old Street or somewhere. Essentially, your consciousness is interrupted and you're dead. You're fucking dead. The brain has recreated a you out of it, but the you that's in there originally is fucking starving for, like, desperate to not be interrupted, whatever happens. Just like when you're sleep paralysed, you realise that falling asleep is death. But falling asleep isn't death. Just like the way nothing is death. The brain dies all the time. The consciousness is constantly interrupted all the time. Do you see? I thought it was quite interesting. Because it means that there isn't actually a sense of death. Like, death is essentially completely irrelevant because it's all about the only thing that we can possibly hold on to is continuity. But we can't hold on to continuity. We lose consciousness all the time. It's not just falling asleep. Like, all the fucking time we lose consciousness. When we get bored, we lose consciousness. We're constantly basically beaming this sense out of the brain. So I thought that was quite interesting. I thought quite hopeful as well. It seemed to have a kind of sense of, hope for the fact that the thing that we hold on to most, that we regard as, and viscerally we do. I mean, anyone who's had sleep paralysis knows that falling asleep is the most terrifying thing. It's absolutely death. And you see it as a line. It's like a fucking black line. But that happens to every single person, every single night. So, I wouldn't be afraid, really. I think we, nothing to be afraid of in death. I think it's like, there's nothing to be, like, there's just nothing. Like, it's all completely irrelevant. Like, the whole sense of continuity, consciousness, anything is just rubbish. All we are essentially is a performative thing for our friends that just, like, bobbles along. And, anyway, on that hopeful note, I'm open for questions. But it is interesting, isn't it? Isn't it?
If you think so.
I think.
Thank you for that. Very beautiful and important existential insights there, and also a warning against taking too much ketamine. Okay.